I'm in a weird place because I don't feel all that good. I had like fast food and it's just sitting sideways, but...
Well, I'm about to have Indian food, so we'll see how Katie Keene goes later.
There's just a lot of vomiting in between breaks. We just have 2 trash cans.
Oh, brother.
Well, I watched it last night and I was watching it again when you came home today and we got about halfway through and I was like, I'm good. I was like, I don't think it's going to make any more sense a second time. And you kind of were like, it really didn't.
There was a lot going on, and it was sort of in a way where I'm having this same thing with a lot of this season's episodes of Legacies specifically, where I get to the point watching these shows where I'm like, look, I was like, someone might end up dying, but like you can kind of count on shows like this for the good guys to win in the end. And so I a lot of times just take it on faith what the music sounds like to just be like, okay, well, I should be a little bit concerned right now. And it gets to a point where they're so like convoluted that I literally can't keep up. And so I just have to like let it slide and be like, I enjoyed it.
I've also been somewhat desensitized. This isn't important at all, but I just want to throw it out there because apparently Tiffany is like hard done with Legacies. And I guess it had to do with a boy flying.
So he's a phoenix. And it turns out he can fly now, but he doesn't have wings. He just can like float in the air now.
It was like the last straw for her.
It really was. Like... I saw her quit and she was like, oh my God. And she was like, I watched one more episode because a character from Vampire Diaries came back and she was like, that's it for me.
So I'm not there. I'm absolutely not there with the Magicians. And there's still enough that I'm enjoying about it. But we're 7 episodes in. This isn't a bad season.
No.
And I'm comparing it to season 3. In my opinion, season 1 was good. Season 2 was great. Season 3 was good. Season 4 was fantastic. And this is kind of like good again. And it's going to depend on where we end up, where I feel like I'm going to go back and evaluate how I feel about it. But it's like, it just feels kind of like we're not even necessarily wasting time, but it's like spinning plates. We have so many plates spinning.
There's been so many place setting episodes. Like the whole season has been place setting episodes, and we're not done setting the table yet. And I'm just like, you have to finish setting the table before the final episode or it's going to be crazy.
It's just exhausting because it's like we're already on to the second apocalypse of the season. And I will say one of the things I like is that it is fraying the characters' nerves as well. So there's that sort of meta awareness that we've come to expect from the show. But it just like there were good things in this element. In particular, this has been some of the more interesting I've found Alice.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily know that means that it's been her best material. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I do think the episode with her and Elliot was some of Olivia's best material. I don't know that it's been Alice's best material. And I definitely don't think saddling her with a new love interest while she's still grieving is very appropriate.
Well, we'll have to see, because this is like the 5th character subsequent, like coincidentally of color that we've introduced this season. That's and then done nothing with.
That's true. You're not wrong.
So it's like, I don't mind, but it's like, is it gonna matter? Is it gonna mean anything? And I think it's because I think it's because for me, Alice has been so completely humbled. And I think that's what I find interesting about her, because she's just now this really reliable, hardworking, thankless presence that I'm like, thank God Alice is on it. You know what I mean?
I definitely agree. I mean, just a couple of her, I mean, this is all Olivia, but a couple of her deliveries in this episode were so good. With like the guy, the new botanist guy, the new love interest, he literally was like, oh my God.
Did we even get a name from him? I
think so. He said something I literally couldn't tell you what it was. But he was like, he like knew her mother, and he was like, oh my God.
It was like a spectacular orchid.
Her orchid. I found her orchid spectacular. And Alice just goes, oh God, like under her breath and almost swallowing it. And he's like, no, not like that. I would never be with another botanist, which is such a weird rule to have. And then at the very end of the episode too, she's like, I'm going to go back and study the box that's in the greenhouse, blah, 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 try to figure out all the new conditions. And they just were like, well, that guy got hired, so you're going to be seeing him a lot. And she goes, fucking great. She's just like so baffled and like upset about it. And I was really, really enjoying it. I think I found him. I think his name is Hamish. Yeah, Hamish Bax.
Like I said, it's that slight self-awareness that the show has where I'm like, if the fatigue is sort of the point of this season, I would like for them to lean into it a little bit more. But also then that's interesting because it's like I'm still finding Julia interesting. We touched on this last week. It's not that I don't like Penny, but he just has a weird tunnel vision. And it's borderline like not abusive, but it's like an unhealthy relationship because it's like he's trying to preserve their relationship even though she's not the same person.
Okay, yes. So I have many things to say about this, and it's because they made a point to have this conversation in this episode, and she was like, I'm not the same Julia. And he was like, I know you're not. It's wild how different you are. I could never mistake the two of you. And it's just like, I believe him, and I also, like, I don't think he's lying, but I also don't believe him because she looks the same, and she, like, is at her core the same person. And so it's like, I think even though he knows his Julia's gone, he's still trying to shoot for that.
He's clinging to this. Yeah.
He really is. And it's not necessarily like a gross thing, but it's like Penny 23 is not the same as Penny 40. And Penny 23 just wants to like go fuck off to like a lake house. And that's just like not in the cards for any of these characters.
And again, if this is something that they're doing intentionally, I'm actually very impressed. And again, lean in just a little bit more. But it's like, obviously, fantasy is a metaphor for life so much of the time. And it's like, it's a metaphor for being in a relationship when one or both of you have changed. Yeah. And so the metaphor here is that she is quite literally a different person. And I think that though Julia does not have her goddess powers, or I guess not even the immortality anymore, I can't remember. She still went through that, like Alice, where it's like I can believe the two of them would have a worldview or a perspective that is different than the other mortals. So Julia's kind of chugging along. I mean, you have to consider what else she's been through. She kind of has to believe in something more. Like, how would Julia just sort of unwind?
It sort of calls into question the morality of Penny 23 or like his moral compass, I guess, because Julia feels morally bound to save Fillory in a way that's like, I can't just let all of those people and creatures and the entire world die. Like, I physically can't let it happen. And Penny's like, when is it over, though? And you can definitely see
which is mirroring the conversation that Yetiti Badaki had earlier on in the season.
Of course. And I think
like, when do we get to be done?
There's not necessarily anything shameful about being like, I did my part. I'm cool. I'm finished now. I mean, there's a whole season of Buffy that is that exact sentiment writ large. But my point is that I think Julia comes across as the more noble person in this thing because she's like, not only is she doing it because she knows it's the right thing to do, but she's kind of doing it for Quentin. And whether or not that's an unhealthy coping mechanism isn't Penny's thing to decide. Mm-hmm. Like, Julia has to decide that for herself. And if Penny's not willing to go on that journey with her, then, you know, it sucks. But like, he can't keep her because that's just who she is.
Yeah. So I kind of hope this breakup sticks, at least for a little while, if not forever, so that we can see what else we do here. I found the whole plot with Psycho Dean and other Todd confounding.
Me too. I don't know. I barely remembered that Cinnabar was like a thing that we had to use in this shit. So I was like all very confused, but I will tell you, I straight up like exclaimed when Todd exploded. I was like, no, oh my God. I was like so sad. I was like, you can't make me love Todd this much over 5 seasons and then just blow him up. But it was bad, Todd. Todd 17.
His song in the beginning, and then when he went to leave and he tripped over the couch and stuff, it just, I do love Todd. The multiverse is a blessing and a curse because it offers you unlimited possibilities, but that's a bad thing because you have unlimited possibilities. So it's like you reach a point where nothing matters. And I was just watching it and I was just like, well, who cares? They'll just die and be replaced with another one. And that could even be said of Quentin. And I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. I guess because I've bought into the fact that he is just gone. He's left the show. And also, I mean, didn't they specifically state that he is dead in all the other timelines?
Yes. Yeah. Quentin 40 was the only Quentin that survived.
That was still alive.
So
okay.
Every other Quentin is already dead.
But there's a part of me with last week with the time loops and stuff. I was like, did they not make like 17 more timelines? Like,
well, that's the thing is like they are doing time magic in a way now that they hadn't before the last like 2 seasons. So it's like they could now do time magic and dimensional magic, but I mean, I don't think they're going to go there. And Jason Ralph left the show, so but it does call into question kind of everything. Where it's like, well, I know that Quentin 40 was the only one who survived, but you could go back in time and pluck Quentin 14 out of like Break Bill's year 1 kind of a
or
thing.
Even
and it's like,
the child Quentin. It's like, I don't necessarily know that I wanted him on the show as the series regular as child Quentin, but it just, there are options is sort of
for sure
the thing where we're in a very contrived play, or certainly convoluted. I don't know if we're quite at contrived yet.
It's not contrived yet. And I don't even necessarily know that it's on the road to contrived, but like I can see contrived in the distance, and it just depends on what exit we take.
The only part that I'm really interested in is the Fillory stuff. And I hesitate to say that I think the show should just be that, because I don't think I want this entire show to be set in Fillory. You know what I mean?
No. I mean, we would, first of all, and most importantly, we would lose that amazing loft.
Yeah, but a large chunk of season 2 was set entirely in Fillory, but which season 2 is pretty good. But regardless, the plot that I'm interested in, and I feel like it's being a little bit shortchanged for some of these other plots, but it's Margo and Elliot, and to a lesser extent Finn, and they're in Fillory in the future, and they're trying to figure out what the deal is with the Dark King. And so far, my theory had been that the Dark King is Quentin and Elliot's son.
Well, it would have to be like an ancestor or like a way descendant.
Yeah, if we're going with like straightforward. But I mean, we just spent how many minutes talking about time magic?
Well, I guess, I mean, you could go either way.
And also on that note, because we were like, we get into a weird spot because he has chemistry with Elliot. And I did realize that Elliot doesn't have any biology with him. So
true, yes. But I mean, still, if it is their son, he raised him still. But you would think he would recognize Elliot.
Unless it's been 300 years.
In which case he's a descendant, I would say.
Or just old, just magically old and forgotten. Okay. But I don't know. I'm not necessarily saying that's exactly what's happening, but I still think even now there is still more going on, because Elliot, he's a good enough judge of character. I guess, would you call him a good judge of character?
Not really.
Okay. He seems very conflicted by what's going on. And even with the big reveal at the end of the episode that the Dark King is throwing gold into dirt to make takers, I'm still kind of like, there's something else happening, because even that could just be to keep him in power longer. Like,
yeah, I'm not sure. The whole thing with the like planted gold and Tick Pickwicks.
Well, it was Bick Pickwick was a xenophobe, and
it's his it's his descendant though. It's Tick's person, but yeah, I'm having problems with the characters who are dead, because Abigail the Sloth is dead, and I'm mad about it. Like, poor Rafe, he has like a wombat now, and he hates it, and I just like, I don't know what to do. And then presumably Tick Pickwick has died as well, but then it begs the question, like, why is Rafe still alive?
Yeah, well, and the fairies are also weird, because it's like, they've been weird the whole time. Yeah,
but without the centering power of Candace Cain, it's a little weird.
No offense, I don't mean this in a personal way, but whoever this new queen is, she is not doing it for me. And as
She's
interesting,
the queen? I thought she was just a representative.
I thought she was the queen. I thought that's what they said, but yeah.
If she's the queen, she's awful.
What they've done with the fairies is very interesting, and I appreciate it for being different. However, having said that, I think the queen should be more distinguished, and distinguishable, where it's like Candace Cain still was dressed and made up like the rest of them. She had such a presence that you kind of just
Well, then, I mean, like 90% of that is just Candace Cain.
Yeah. And so this chick, I'm like, your hair needs to be longer or something. Like you need a
longer
crown.
or shorter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I don't know.
Or blonder or something.
And I do appreciate the situation that they're both in. I completely understand Margo's frustration.
Yeah.
And I also understand the fairies. And it's just pointing out what we've been saying for years, that it's like, I think Fen is the true ruler. Like, I think Fen should be queen of Fillory.
Sure. Yeah. It's a very Sansa Queen in the North kind of thing.
Yeah, because she's the only one that's actually accomplishing anything. And she finally mentioned the baby. She was like, do you know how hard it was for me, considering that I lost my baby to the fairies? And she didn't even blame Margo, and it was entirely Margo's fault. Mm-hmm. But Margo came in like a wrecking ball and undid several weeks worth of work in diplomacy that Fen was working on. And
yeah. Margo's good at that.
There's still interesting stuff. I just, from where I'm at, I'm like, in my opinion, we wasted like 25 minutes of this episode dealing with crazy psycho Dean from Timeline 17, and I don't know what it accomplished.
Yeah, it didn't really accomplish a lot, which is the annoying part, because the only thing that we found out definitively is that there is a psycho Dean, and the moon is angry about what happened.
Which, fair, especially given the episodes leading up to this. But also, it's like, did we really need another episode to get that? Like, couldn't we have figured that out within the first 5 minutes of this episode?
Well, that's what I'm saying is, like, I think again, it's probably going to lead somewhere. This show has earned enough of my loyalty to know that, when they're doing something, mostly it's for a purpose. But I definitely agree that this could have been 35 minutes of Fillory and then like 12 minutes of, hey, the conditions keep changing, wonder why, and let me pop into the greenhouse. Oh, here's why. Like, that could have been so much easier.
They made a comment that Psycho Dean had a daughter, and I just wondered if that was the woman that we met earlier on in the season that was Penny's student.
No, I agree. I think she definitely could be. But it like, again, begs the question, like, why?
It was fine. We'll see.
Yeah, it was fine. It's not my favorite episode of the season. I mean, we came out swinging with like 4 excellent ones in a row. We should have known there would be a couple letdowns.
They were building, though. Like, remember, it took like till episode 3 or 4 where we were finally like, okay, this is kicking in. This is bobbing. This season is doing a lot of up and down and up and down. So, because
I did like the 2-parter last week as well. Like,
but they registered as 1 episode.
Agreed as well. Yeah, like, it was like definitely a 2-parter, but I would have aired them separately, but maybe that's just me. But yeah, I mean, I'm still really enjoying it. That's the thing about this show, is it's just fun to watch the people do the stuff, even if it doesn't make a ton of sense.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
Okay.
All right. See you next week.